You don't have to sell in your content to get business done.
Have you ever asked yourself how to make your personal brand better resonate with your audience?
I no longer have to talk to the client before they pay.
I'm Matt Billman, and this is $1 Million Creators, where you can learn how to become a $1 million creator yourself.
LinkedIn was the catalyst, the real game changer for me.
Meet Jasmine J. Alic, a Fortune 500 copywriter, a brand strategist, and LinkedIn creator with over 150,000 followers. His mission is to help people scale their business on LinkedIn with great copywriting.
Like I literally do zero DMing, zero whatever.
Welcome Jay to the show. He's a Fortune 500 copywriter, brand strategist, and a top LinkedIn expert with over 150,000 followers. He's widely known as Jay from Hey Jay, and he shares everything he knows for free. So Jay's mission is to help as many people as possible to perfect their brand and online writing. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, let me just for kicking this off, double click a bit. So what's again the mission on your planet? And also what was the inflection point that made you start your business?
Well, honestly, so here's my backstory really quickly. The way Hey Jay came about in its current form is I've been doing copywriting and brand strategy for years as a freelancer, right? And then at a certain point, I was like, how do I brand this in a way that sounds like a business, looks like a business, and behaves like a business? So Hey Jay came to life. And the platform of choice that I used was LinkedIn. LinkedIn was the catalyst, the real game changer for me, starting just 2 years ago. And we can talk about it in detail. But for me, it was really that shift from how do I go from a standard premium as I was freelancer to a legit business. So that was the shift for me for sure.
So how to move from selling time for money to product for money, or how to sell time for money in a more scalable way?
In a more scalable way for sure. And also in a much easier way. I feel like when you're doing things at a quote unquote lower level, it's very hard for you to detach from the process. I feel like in this current scenario, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on there every day. And the way I've set things up, the way the process is set up is I no longer have to talk to the clients before they pay. Like I literally do zero DMing, zero whatever. I've optimized my profile to the best of my abilities where it speaks to a certain ideal customer persona, ICP. And I have a very singular call to action on my profile, which is book that one-on-one. And then you have several one-on-one options depending on what your needs are. And I just use the power of my content, basically writing every single day, super good, super useful content that people love and people read a lot. And therefore, I get a lot of clicks on my profile. So the content is really what drives the business, and then the visits on the profile are really what results in all those bookings. And because everything is so optimized, I don't have to do anything. I just do my job, and that's it.
Before double and triple click on that, what did you do before in your previous life?
So in my previous life, I had 2 previous lives actually. So I was a teacher / professor, and I was a rapper. I did music.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I did music for 5 years, man. It was a lovely period of my life. But at a certain point, I was just like, this is not going to work. It's too much partying, too much. The lifestyle just didn't suit me and who I was. I just wanted to really share my mission, share my thoughts with the world. And I was at a point where people cared more about the partying than the mission. So I was just like, I'm no longer going to do this. And yeah, teaching and being a professor, I taught at a primary school, high school, at the university. So yeah, teaching is my real passion in life. That's what I do on LinkedIn, technically.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, that's a great segue to talk about your offer. What's the offer today? What value do I get as a client, right? So I'm on I read all the articles, I click that button on your profile, and then I buy something. What do I usually get? What do I buy? What's the core offer?
So if let's say you want to work with me today, you have a problem, which is you want to scale your business. This has nothing to do with LinkedIn, okay? But the platform of choice that I've used is LinkedIn. Because of that, I'm able to convince you very easily that if you want to grow your business, LinkedIn is the platform to do it. And when you just take one look at my profile, you can see that I've not only done it for myself, I've done it for hundreds, thousands of others at this point. And
Okay.
the thing you get is you book a one-on-one, and in that one-on-one you can cover anything that you have a pain point with. What for some people it's clarity in their offer. So really the challenge is different for everyone. That's the beauty of what I do. I believe that it's not a copy paste thing that I can just apply to a million people and then it just goes out of style after a certain point. I don't want that in my business. I really don't. I really like the hands on of the business that I do. And because everyone has a different problem, particularly main four problems. So the areas of business that I'm in is offer clarity or brand messaging slash positioning. For example, a lot of people have an offer, right? But they either have two problems with their offer. A, they haven't structured it in a really nice way that's sellable, or B, they have structured it in a way that's sellable, but the language around the offer, the way they're positioning the offer is bad. So therefore, it sounds weak, or at least it looks weak to their ideal customer profile. That's problem number one, offer clarity. So positioning the offer. From there, we go to the LinkedIn profile, which is where we look at the profile itself. So if your offer is stellar, if your offer is A plus, your profile should reflect that. A lot of the times, people offer really good things, but the stuff, the words they use on their LinkedIn profile, it doesn't communicate how powerful the offer is. So step number two is really optimizing the LinkedIn profile. Step number three, then from there on out, see, this is like a natural progression. Step number three from there on out is the LinkedIn content strategy. So now we have an A plus offer, then we have an A plus profile. But what's all of it for if we can't get people on the profile itself in the first place? So then we talk about the content strategy. What sort of content you should write, what sort of format, what timing, everything, everything, everything. But there's a deeper problem, copywriting, writing the content itself. So I offer copywriting training because that's what I've been doing for the past 14 years. And that's really step number four in the process. I train people how to write. And at this point, after 14 years, I've developed my storytelling framework that I teach to a lot of people. I teach it in conferences, I teach it in workshops, I teach it in one-on-one sessions. So really what you're getting is you're paying a one-on-one, but people rarely stay for just one session. Most of the people I work with, they work with me on a retainer. I'm their coach, and we work, long term. We establish a relationship. Essentially, I'm collaborating with people on growing their brand, and the medium that we're using to grow their brand is LinkedIn.
Okay. So it's one-on-one, usually like one-on-one, like four-pillar framework, offer clarity, profile clarity, LinkedIn content strategy, copywriting training. It
Yes, sir.
starts with one-on-one calls, and then quite quickly, because it natural progression from 1 to 4 comes in monthly retainers, or maybe even quarterly, annual retainers.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you are
And
jumping on calls weekly, bi-weekly, quarterly, monthly.
it really depends on how frequently you want it. I have clients that I work with just once a week, so we meet just weekly. I have some that I work that we meet twice a week, and some that I only meet 2 times per month. I I don't think I'm working with anyone where we meet less than 2 times per month. But here's one more thing. The natural progression from that has been me working with businesses. So it's no longer just one on one. I offer workshops and trainings for businesses. So I travel the world a lot. I travel to conferences, but I also travel to actual companies where they'll hire me to give all of these things. Sometimes all of it packed into one training. Sometimes it's multiple sessions. Sometimes it's multiple days. It really depends on what the company needs for their employees. You'll read a lot about these influencer programs now, especially in 2024, with companies investing a lot of money in training their employees how to use social media to build their own personal brands, therefore improve the brand of the company. And that's essentially what I'm doing. I am training the companies and all their employees how to build a personal brand and therefore how to improve the brand of their companies.
Clear. Let's talk price points. Where does it start? What's the low end on the offer on the price points? What's the high end?
It really depends on when you ask me this question. So right now I'm in the process of increasing my prices. So the low end is $500 an hour, or
Yeah.
even in Europe, after taxes, 500 euros an hour. So the the next price point is going to be 1,000 an hour. And really, with the workshops, it depends on what you want to do as a business. The workshops that I do are typically 2,500 for 2 hours. That's the workshop on a low end, and anyway from 8, 10K or more is really on the higher end for the workshops. And that's truly what I believe is the bread and butter for 2024. I'm already booked for a hell of a lot of conferences, a hell of a lot of workshops, which makes me feel good about the business. And I know
Nice.
these trainings are what's going to drive the growth and the revenue for the business for sure.
Just real quick, what's this difference again between a $2,500 workshop and the $8,000 workshop?
It's really about timing and the way we tailor the workshop. So the pricier ones are longer in nature. So for the
Yeah.
2500, we're just going to do 2 hours. I typically do 19 minutes of presentation and demoing, and then 30 minutes of straight up Q&A and demoing. So that's going to be your standard 2 hour format. But for everything else, we either do a 5 or 6 hour format, or we stretch it out. Not just on one day, we stretch it out across several days. Sometimes it's not even one day after the other. Sometimes it's just we have part one this month, depending on how we set it up for the employees, and then we leave them some time to implement everything, and then we have part two the next month, part three the next month, so on and so forth. It's really about length and tailoring of the offer.
Clear. What tools do you use to deliver your value? Is that
So
Zoom or?
I
Sorry.
am I am actually a pretty simple guy when it comes to using tools online, and everyone who gets to know me, they're like, "You don't use many tools, man," and I'm like, "Yep, that's right," because I feel like it's a waste of time to use three different tools if I can just use one. So for me, for example, for LinkedIn, I don't use a whole lot of tools. I only use this tool called Authored Up. If you've never heard about it, what it allows you to do is it previews every single post exactly in the way it's going to show up for the reader. So you can actually see a final preview in the mobile version, in the tablet version, and in the desktop version. What it also allows you to do is because you can preview it, you get these readability scores that tells you, is this post good? Is this like psychologically good to read? And their analytics are just A plus. So Authored Up, that's really the only tool I use for LinkedIn. As far as client management goes and all that, I'm a very simple guy. Honestly, I'm just an email and Notion type of guy. Like genuinely, email and Notion. That's everything I need. And what else is there? As far as video conferencing, I use Whereby. I don't know if you've ever experienced the struggles of people not finding the right link when it comes to Zoom or Teams
Yeah.
or Google Meet or anything. It's even if you set like a fixed link, people always have to look for it in a calendar invite or something, and they always miss it.
Yeah.
What Whereby allows you to do is you can have your own link and it can stay fixed. And it's especially useful for me because it's a copy paste version of it. So for example, if you have a team and you meet a lot, what you can have is a fixed link for your team, and you can leave the door open in that room 24/7. So there's an option for you to lock the room or unlock the room. So for example, let's say we're 2019, we're all in offices in physical actual buildings, and there's a conference room, right? So whenever there's a team meeting, like you don't even have to say it. If you say, "Oh, we're meeting at 11 a.m.," everyone knows where to go. Like it's not even a question about where you meet. That's the thing with Whereby and these fixed links. You can leave a room open for your team 24/7, and as soon as there's a meeting, everyone's always in the right place at the right time. And yeah, there's just a whole bunch of options. So yeah, really Authored Up, just Gmail, Notion, and Whereby. That's exactly what I use.
Very clear. Very clear, and also obvious question before we move on. So just short answer. What about ChatGPT?
No, actually don't use ChatGPT a lot. People always ask me. I use what's that? I stopped using it this year because now Whereby provides me with the recording and everything. There was this one tool, I forgot what it was called, but it essentially allows you to transcribe all of your sessions. Let's say we're doing video recordings, and I forgot what it was called, man. But that's essentially the only AI tool that I've personally used. I have some AI tools that I've used for clients that I've suggested them to use for content creation, but personally, I don't use it at all. I
Okay.
don't use AI a lot just because at this point, I'm still not impressed by writing GPT. I am more impressed by the visual and the graphic GPT. So the mid journeys of the world and all those other tools. Like that's just amazing. But writing chat GPT, I'm just not impressed. Like at this point, I'm still not impressed. That's just my personal opinion.
Clear. Um, Real quick before we move on, launch date of your current way on how you run the business. Would that be 2 years ago, as you said earlier, or when did you do the offer as it is today?
Yeah, 2 years ago, precisely. The current offer as we have it running today is 2 years old. And before that, it was really ad hoc. like even if I was offering the same thing, it wasn't as structured. It was really tailored to, from client to client.
Let's move over to a success section. How many paying customers do you have today? It's interesting because you're limited by your time.
My goodness, that's a tough one to answer just because my calendar is booked out a month and a half, 2 months in advance. So it
Okay,
really,
and how does a typical
yeah,
day
it's
look
really
like?
hard for me to answer that question in terms of like a
I
fixed
can answer
number.
to you, Len. How does a typical day look like? Is it
Oh
like
yeah, I can give you this. So I cap out my days at 2 sessions per day. So
two sessions?
I don't want to do more than 2 sessions per day.
And how long
As
is the
far as,
session?
sorry,
How long is the session?
1 hour, one
1
hour.
hour.
Yeah, I
Okay.
typically do my sessions in the evening. Sometimes if I do them longer, it's just going to be one in the morning and then two in the evening. But I don't want to do more than two. That's how
Okay.
I cap out my
So
days.
2 times 224 working days times $500 per hour is $224,000.
I don't know. You tell me.
250K a year. So that
I
is
don't know.
20K a month.
I can't talk about it. You know why? Because I made a vow at the very beginning of this journey that where I say to people, I hate talking about money. I don't ever want to talk about money. And if you ever catch me selling in any of my posts, please go and report me, block me, do whatever it takes. And trust me when I tell you, Matthias, I am sticking to that. So therefore, you will not get an answer to that question just because I hate talking about it. And it's not a bad thing. Just so you know, it's a very personal preference, but
That
only
is
because
completely okay.
yeah, but
Completely
only
okay.
because I made the vow. And I feel like for me, the way it works in my business, especially when it comes to content creation, you don't have to sell in your content to get business done. You don't have to sell. And this is what I coach to people because a lot of the times I get this feedback where it's like, I don't know how to sell. I come off as too salesy. When I come across as too salesy, I lose people. I lose the attention. My content doesn't get a whole lot of attention. And that's exactly what I preach and coach people. So, it I'm just walking my talk. I don't just talk it, I walk it.
Yeah, yeah, clear. But like one just little feedback is if you double your price points, which you intend to do from 500 to 1,000, you will double your business overnight.
Yeah, precisely. And you know what the most luxurious thing about it is? I've validated this and I've tested this out, and people are willing to pay for it. Like
Yeah.
that's really the most beautiful thing about it. If you are offering something that people truly want and it genuinely delivers results for people, for businesses especially, I believe there's not a limit that that you can charge. There's not a limit that you can charge as long as you're providing the value and you're not just 2xing, you're 10xing the revenue of your potential client. Everyone's going to want to pay. It's just the way it works.
Let's double click on that. Like, what's moving over also to the customer generation side? Like, what's the secret? Because, like, what I get is, hey, you put content out there, then people go to your profile, then they click the bio link, and then they book a call, right? So, what's the secret to put the right content at the right quantity, like out there in the most effective way?
Well, by the way you've described it is literally how it works. Like genuinely, that's 100% inbound. I've talked about this recently in my content, and it's the dream for anyone. Like that's what people strive to do, where they don't have to do a whole lot of outbound and sending these cold DMs and cold calling and pitching and all of that. So the way I structure my content is really for broad reach and super targeted topics. So because my business, of course, is around at this point for LinkedIn specifically, is around LinkedIn growth and strategies for growing on LinkedIn, like engagement strategies, writing strategies, profile optimization strategies, DMing strategies, all of that. And then it also has a lot to do with writing and the psychology of selling, the psychology of writing. That's what I'm talking about in my content. I'm not talking about popular topics like AI.
Yeah.
Why would I? Because it's not on brand for me. That's not what I'm selling. And this is a trap that a lot of content creators on LinkedIn, a lot of businesses fall into. They feel like they have to jump on the next trend. You don't have to. You can try it out, but don't feel forced to make it part of your business just because everyone else is doing it. I that's one piece of advice I would give to anyone, really, especially when it comes to content creation.
Essentially, it makes all the sense. What you do is like, hey, customer problem is I want to make business through LinkedIn. What do I need? I need relevance. I need connection to my ICP. I need followers, trust, and all of these things. So let's say there's a couple of. It's essentially it's a tree. That like
Oh
that
yeah.
that
Oh
goes
yeah.
down.
It's a matrix. It really
And
is.
or metrics, yeah. And then what you're doing is you create hyper targeted content on these subjects, and you go very deep to become the authority in that field, and you do it over and over again so that you establish that brand, and then ultimately people know actually if you want to talk about how to do X, I don't know, get more followers effectively, the right followers, then it's hey Jay.
Precisely. I
Yeah,
always say this to people. And one of my mission, one of the parts of my mission, as you said it in the beginning, is I share everything. And I genuinely do. Like I share 100% of what I know. And
except
people
revenue.
uh, except the revenue. Yeah, but that's just me. The thing is, when you do that, when you genuinely tell people, "Hey, you could have paid for this, but I'm giving it to you for free." The psychological hack, if you want to call it, is that 99% of people will still not be able to apply it without you.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
still
I
won't
know.
be able to apply it themselves. So what you're getting is super high brand authority, super high brand trust. And then when it's ultimately time, when the customer is finally ready, they're like, okay, who do I pick to help me do this XYZ thing? Who better to pick than the expert they already know and trust, than the expert that actually put them on the idea? So naturally, they're just going to pick you. So that's the
Very
way it works,
clear.
really.
Makes total sense. We experienced the same. Hey, 150K on LinkedIn, right? Audience size. How was it a year ago? Are you growing strongly or is it stable?
Yeah, last year was so precisely 1 year ago. I was at around 40,000 ish, so it was less than 50K.
So like you
Yeah,
added 110K in a year.
yeah, pretty much.
It's amazing. What's the
So
core geo? What's the core geo US?
sorry, what was the?
The core geography, like the country where the
Oh
customers
yeah,
are.
so
Yeah.
I can actually give you that. So I have a very very equal split in four parts.
Mhm.
It's UK, that's my strongest audience, and US, and then I have South Asia, South Asia specifically, like India, Pakistan, and it's actually I have to say this. I have to pause here. A lot of people, for whatever reason, they want to avoid these sorts of regions because they feel like it's people can't pay, and I'm like, do you know that just in the last year, even less than a year, like I can give you exact stats, LinkedIn has um, magneted. They have attracted more than 200 million users from Southeast Asia to the platform. They're now sitting at a billion users. It used to be 800,000, 200,000 just in the last 7 or 8 months have just been from Southeast Asia. So that's a key bit to think about engagement wise. So I have UK, US, I have Southeast Asia, and then it's really a mixture of all the European countries. Germany is the strongest in my case. Germany and Switzerland, really, as far as European countries goes. Germany and Switzerland. I have a lot of followers from the Scandinavian countries, so Denmark, Estonia, Sweden in particular. I had some clients from Sweden, um, Spain, Italy is there, Bosnia, obviously, like a lot of people from Bosnia as well.
Yep.
But
Just real quick. I
yeah,
think it's like I think I got it.
yeah, it's like a four-way split. Anyhow, so
Yeah,
UK,
yeah.
US, Southeast
UK,
Asia,
US,
and then Europe and Australia.
Europe
Yeah,
makes sense.
Europe and Australia.
Um, One more question before we move on. The secret to grow from 40,000 to 150,000 in a year. Like what's the main secret here? What's the main driver?
Two things. Honestly, super good commenting. So people know me as the commenting guy on LinkedIn. Like I talk a lot about my engagement strategies to a point where LinkedIn even featured my commenting strategies, like right there on the homepage. I've had a conversation with someone from LinkedIn. Like they've actually approached me about how I do things. So commenting is really the big part of your LinkedIn success. A lot of people feel like it's just a part of your LinkedIn strategy. No, it's the part of your LinkedIn strategy. It should be 90% of your LinkedIn activity, 90% of your LinkedIn activity, and 10% should go into content creation. So for me, it's really a two-part piece. Super good commenting. And for anyone who wants to find out how that looks like, you can just go to my LinkedIn, visit my profile. I share a lot of guides on commenting and how that looks like. And the part two is really just generating and writing really good content. I coach people how to write really well and super good content all the time. So those two parts, handle that, you're good.
And just real quick before we move on, the 90% part, the commenting, is it more about quality, long, deep, well reflected, to the point, or is it like quantity?
It's really about quality and strategy in your approach. It's never about quantity. One of the things I talk to when it comes to when I talk to people when it comes to commenting is really the approach in which you get the most attention for your comments. Like, for example, you don't post every day. Like, it's very hard to post 7 days a week. I don't post 7 days a week
Yeah.
myself. But how do you still get attention on your profile the day you're not posting? So those are some of the strategies I teach people. And it's really amazing what they can do with just simple strategic time spent in the right places.
Nice. Real quick on the overhead side, OpEx expenditures, like your team of one or any other people on the team?
So that's good. I was a team of one until about a couple of weeks ago. So we hired one writer. And next year, I feel like I'm going to be expanding a whole lot. So I didn't ever want to offer content creation as a service, so ghostwriting and any of that. So content creation, really, not just ghostwriting. Next year, I feel forced to because my clients are really demanding that. And so far, I've just been referring people to other friends and colleagues. But in the last 6 months, I've been training other writers. I've been training other content creators. And as soon as they cross that threshold, I'm bringing them on to my team. So next year, we're really going to be expanding the team, hopefully. And I'm also going to be personally moving a lot into digital products. So I'll be launching my masterclass, which is something I've talked a lot about in my content. People are really looking forward to that. So I'm going to be packaging up all of these lessons from the past 2 years into a super good format. And I can't tell you yet what the format is of the digital product because I still haven't announced it officially. But it's really going to be super intense, super advanced, and super packed. It's going to be like nothing anyone's ever put out as far as LinkedIn training goes. I'm 100% sure.
Great transition to the future section. So can you get it up to 10x by yourself? So let's assume you're at 250K now, you double the price is 500K. But let's take it even one step further, you 10x it. 10x,
Yeah,
like
I am fairly confident, but not by myself. I would need at least two more people, three probably, to really get it to that point. And even at that point, sorry,
who would you hire?
So I would need an executive assistant, not virtual assistant, really executive assistant. I would need two more writers, and I would need someone to handle all the administrative stuff, not executive assistant stuff, but really administrative stuff like setting meetings, appointments, and handling all the lead generation and qualifying clients before they actually put them through to the assistant. So for sure, we can manage that.
And the best strategy to do win big in the next 12 months, you already shared a little bit, like the content creation as a service could be one, masterclass on demand is one. Anything else, or that's it?
It's really about focusing on the big money makers. For me, next year, at least this year, have the big money makers have been the coaching for companies, not necessarily one-on-ones, because those bring in more revenue, and really speaking gigs. Speaking gigs pay well, and I love traveling. I love meeting new people, and starting next year, I'm officially going to be welcoming brand deals as well. I have not done a single brand deal so far. I have not been paid for a single post yet. Next year, I really want to do that because I've tested a lot of new tools out, new products, and I'll only be working with the tools and the products that I actually believe in, that I actually use. So that's going to be another revenue stream for next year.
Biggest thing holding you back?
Right now, honestly, nothing's holding me back. Like, genuinely, I am such a believer in the future and the way things work in life. So, for example, I'm a dad. Like, I spend a lot of my time dadding, like raising my son, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would never say it holds me back. Like, I would genuinely, Matthias, trade away some of the business to still be able to like add 1 or 2 more hours extra into my life as a dad.
Yeah, I sensed that already when you said you kept it at 2 days, 2 hours, 2 sessions.
Exactly.
Let's move over to a section called the famous 5. You can answer in one word. I will increase the pace now. What's your favorite business book?
What are your laws of power?
What's your favorite person you're studying, your role model?
Chris Do.
What's the favorite social media channel for inspiration?
Favorite social media channel? LinkedIn for inspiration.
No, that makes sense. Favorite online tool for building your company?
Authored Up.
Overdope. Okay. Biggest thing on your mind right now?
How do we sleep more and work less?
How do we sleep more and work less? Moving over to personal, how many hours do you actually sleep?
I actually don't sleep a lot. I sleep only 4 hours a day at most. Five
Wow.
if it's like a really luxurious day.
What's the situation? Married, single, any kids?
I am divorced and we're splitting the custody. And yeah, I spend like a lot of time with my son. It's single dad. That's how people phrase it. I'm a single dad, but he spends a lot of his time with his mom. He spends a lot of his time with me. And every single day I see him and it's beautiful.
What's your age?
32, almost.
Nice. Hey, one more. Just out of curiosity before going to the final question. When you sleep 4 hours at night, like why? Because you theoretically have 2 hours of work. 2 hours of sessions, right? Then you spend time with your son. Like, what do you do the other hours?
I spend time with my son.
Okay, so you just like you like being awake and do cool things than sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. I pretty much dislike sleeping a whole lot if there's really no reason for it. If I feel tired, I would want to sleep, but if I'm not feeling tired, I don't want to sleep.
Final question. We also want to give some advice to the audience. If you could go back in time and have a conversation with your 20-year-old self, what's the best piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Get on social media earlier and start creating content much earlier. I waited a whole lot of time and I shouldn't have.
Very good. So this is Jay from Hey Jay. He has grown a lot in the last 12 months from 40,000 followers to 150,000 followers. Before he was a teacher, rapper, and today he's actually helping businesses to scale on LinkedIn. He has a very clear offer where he helps companies to get offer clarity, get profit clarity, get their LinkedIn content strategy clear, and then help them with copywriting. You actually go into offering content, the copywriting as a service next year onwards. $500 per hour, doubling that now, which is a really good compensation for the authority that he built. He is capping the amount that he works every day because he also wants to spend time with the family and not just like work, which is very inspiring. Customers are from all over the place, but they're for majority buckets: UK, US, Southeast Asia, and Europe. He's on LinkedIn, was on LinkedIn, is focusing on LinkedIn. Everything is about LinkedIn, which is also his business, so that makes sense. Team is lean and mean, but likely a little bit bigger next year because he wants to take it to the next level. And he's not sleeping a lot, has lots of time in the next decades to crush it. Thank you so much for sharing your passion and taking us to the next level, Jay.
Hey, that's a pleasure, honestly. That's a good summary, by the way. I've never had anyone summarize it that well. So I was just listening. I was just like, that's cool. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure.
That was Jasmine J. Alic. You learned how to create a brand on LinkedIn with a clear framework. So how can you unlock the next level in your business?